guys, welcome back to another Clone Wars Season 7 episode review. Today we're reviewing Episode 7 called Dangerous Debt. The moral for this one was, who you were does not have to define who you are. In other words, just because you have a rocky past, it doesn't mean it has to define you. Alright, this episode is continuing the arc with the Martez sisters, Trace and Rafa, and of course their adventures with Ahsoka. When last we left our intrepid trio, they got into debt and were captured by the Pike Syndicate. And as we find them now, they are being held captive, and of course Trace and Rafa keep arguing about whose fault it was, and Ahsoka's like, well, you guys cut it out. And one by one they are tortured for information regarding the spice that Trace dumped in the last episode, just to break up the argument. She's like, okay, fine, you want to do this with it, you don't want to do this with it, I'll just dump this thing. And now they are in debt to the Pike Syndicate. First of all, it looks like they are able to stage something of a breakout, and they get really close to escaping, but in the end are recaptured by the Pikes. And we also get some backstory about these two sisters, why they are so disenchanted with the Jedi. It turns out when a transport was out of control during the pursuit of Zero the Hutt through the underbelly, a transport crashed into a wall that ended up destroying their home and killing both of their parents. They wound up being collateral damage during one of the Jedi missions. And the sad thing about it is Luminara Unduli talked to them afterwards, and all she said after these two kids, well, I say kids, but these two girls lost their parents in a horrible accident, was, the Force will be with you. And then walked away. So no wonder these two girls are so disenchanted with the Jedi. It sort of resonated in an uneasy way when people criticize Christians for just offering thoughts and prayers and not actively doing anything. There are groups that will step in during a crisis and instead of just praying and then walking away, putting their feet behind their faith and practicing what they preach. Sadly, it doesn't get reported on very often, and nobody ever seems to notice when it does happen, but that's a sad thing that happens. I mean, that one kind of cut me to the quick, because it's easy to say I will either keep the faith or I will be praying for you, but it's not so easy to step out and actually put your faith into action. So in a weird roundabout way, this Star Wars episode kind of convicted me. So I'm like, you know what? Once this social distancing thing is over, I need to start doing more for people instead of just talking, putting actions behind my words. Anyway, enough of that little going off on that little tangent. Sadly, their escape attempt fails and they are recaptured by the Pikes, and it is another cliffhanger episode with us wondering, okay, now what's going to happen? They've been recaptured and they're still in a great big mess. My favorite character in this episode was still Ahsoka. Ashley Eckstein's voice acting was really good. I love how feisty Ahsoka is and how she keeps trying to get the sisters to quit arguing and just focus on something. Like, well, you just put aside your differences, toss your disagreements out the window, and somebody decide on something instead of spending all your time disagreeing with each other. It's just like, oi! And like Ahsoka, I was getting pretty annoyed at Trace and Rafa's bickering. I'm like, girls, come on! My two favorite parts in this episode were, first of all, the prison break. It was a nice, lively little chase, and we got to see Ahsoka kick some more butt. And Trace and Rafa, especially Trace, is surprisingly resourceful. I love how Trace sort of faked a feint and then used that to sort of shoot up some droids and break out of there. And a nice little Star Wars Easter egg that was really fun. They stuck the Wilhelm in there. We have not heard that for quite some time in Star Wars, or at least it feels like it. It's that, ah, scream. that Ben Burtt was so fond of using in episodes 1 through 6. It's in practically all the Star Wars episodes. I don't remember whether or not it's in 7, 8, 9, or Solo. Pretty sure it's not 9 because I just rewatched that one. But the Wilhelm scream has been an intrinsic little part of Star Wars and Indiana Jones, so it was neat to hear that again. My favorite lines in this episode were all spoken by Ahsoka. First of all, to break into Trace and Rafa's arguing, she burst out, "Tiebreaker, come on!" The next line was when she made that really crazy jump when the bridge was retracting. They were asking, "How'd you do that?" And she says, "I'm more athletic than I look." That was a nice one. I like how she was sort of explaining away her force powers as something that, she still had to hide them. And especially since these two sisters do not trust Jedi, she has even more motivation to hide them now. And finally, in answering a question asked by, I believe, Rafa, she says, "When you find people you can help, you help them no matter what." I love that that creed, that way of living. If you find somebody in your path and you can help them, you should. That is very, very similar to the philosophy that Qui-Gon Jinn had. And I love that Ahsoka's picked up on that. That is great. I just love the morality of Star Wars, the strong morality with the clear line between good and evil and the responsibility you have to help people if you have the ability to. And if you meet people and have the ability to help them, then you should help them. So I love that. And now for a rating of this episode. The story was pretty good. It got a 9 out of 10. Animation, as always, was top-notch and 10 out of 10. Voice acting, again, Ashley Eckstein stole the show. The more I see of Ahsoka, especially in the later seasons of Clone Wars and then in Rebels, the more I love the character. So, voice acting's another 10 out of 10. Sound mix, I love the little musical cues in there and the sound effects. It was just so good, 9.5 out of 10. Characters, we finally get some backstory on these two sisters, and that adds more depth to their characters, and plus, of course, Ahsoka's really good. The conflict within her is like, she's seeing how people on the outside see the Jedi, and it's like, oh. So, it's really, really, really good. So, characters get a 9 out of 10, and that gives Star Wars Clone Wars Season 7, Episode 7, Dangerous Debt, that's a mouthful, an average score of 9.5 out of 10. It's pretty good. I really like it. The only bad thing about this was, as mentioned before, it's another cliffhanger, and we have to wait another week to see what happens. I hope this storyline kind of wraps up, and then Anakin comes back into this picture. I want to see Ahsoka and Anakin's reunion. I really, 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 really do. I mean, we may have seen it in like a little sneak peek clip, but it wasn't enough. I want more. And wait a minute, should I or shouldn't I? I don't care. All I know is I want more Ahsoka and Anakin snips dynamics. It's so cool. Anyway, that's all for today. Thank you so much for watching. If you want to see more family-friendly, positive Star Wars content, go ahead and click that little subscription button down below. Don't forget to check out the links in the description box, and so you don't miss a video from the channel, I have never said this before, don't forget to ring that little notification bell. I can't believe I'm saying that, but apparently YouTube's burying my content, so this is the only way you're going to get to see more. Sorry. This spiel may improve in the future. I hope it will, but that's all I have right now. I need to find something of a Star Wars bell to ring somewhere. As soon as I possibly can, I am going to start up my top 10 lists once again. Getting into top 10 best and worst things about the sequel trilogy, and probably contrasting canon with Legends characters and the parallels and the differences. I've got a lot of stuff planned. Hopefully I can figure out a way to make these videos in a creative and engaging way. Again, thank you so much for the person who was able to facilitate my viewing of episode 9 again. Yes, I finally got to see it. I got to watch it again last night. I still felt the exact same way this time around as I did the first time around. And my first instinct is, replay button. I want to watch it over and over again. I love that movie so much. Yeah, it's got problems, but I love it. So I'll see everybody again on Monday. I hope everyone has an absolutely great weekend. Stay safe, stay at home. And until then, God bless, and may the Force be with you.